The clock struck midnight as Betty, Anna, and Kelly refilled their mini bowls with chips and candy and settled back on the couch to begin their third horror film of the night. The three girls were camping out at Betty's house. Her parents were away for the weekend, so Anna and Kelly decided to keep Betty company. It had rained all day and continued to do so now, which meant they had no plans to leave the house anytime soon. They had all the food they needed to see them through the all-nighter they were most likely to pull. Things were soon to take quite the chilling turn, though, when the girls were just over 50 minutes into their latest horror blockbuster. Anna got a text message on her cell phone from a number she didn't recognize. Neither did the other girls when asked. It read, "How's the movie night?" While initially spooked, the girls brushed it off after coming to the conclusion that it was just one of the guys from school playing a prank on them. Betty was sure she had mentioned their plans in class that morning. Anna replied to the text by saying, "Nice try." She put her phone down, and the girls continued with the movie. But her phone was soon buzzing once again. She opened the message, and all of the girls looked to see what the reply was from the person they believed to be one of their friends. "The main character is running into the woods now. Is it a good movie?" Now, Betty, Anna, and Kelly all looked at one another with curiosity as their eyes shifted to the TV screen. The main character was in fact running for her life into a huge wooded area. Kelly asked if Betty mentioned specific movies in class that morning, to which she insisted she did not. Now, fear started to grow, as Betty quickly got to her feet and hurried to close the last remaining curtain still open. She took a brief look outside at her silent and still neighborhood. There was nothing, no one around. Pulling the curtains shut with force, Betty returned to the couch and sat between her friends. They were all a little worried now. How would someone know what, exactly, they were watching? They wouldn't. Not unless they had been observing the friends and the TV. The only way they could do that would be by peering through the window, and that in itself was chilling. The girls knew that their friends from school wouldn't do something as creepy as that, but they felt the need to check, just in case it was just some stupid, thoughtless prank courtesy of the boys they knew well. But those boys wouldn't do something like this. It wasn't in their nature. Anna got on to messaging their friends, though, to be sure. She explained it wasn't funny, and they were all getting quite freaked out by the possibility of someone watching them. Each of the boys answered her texts, and all insisted they had nothing to do with what the girls had just experienced. They were currently playing video games together. They even offered to come over to Betty's house to look around and check for any weirdos creeping around Betty's neighborhood. Now, the girls were creeped out more so than before. It wasn't their friends. So who was it? But as they tried to figure that out, Anna's cell phone buzzed once again. Why close the curtains? I was enjoying the show. Shaking off that awful feeling of dread, the girls tried their best to remain calm, and Anna decided to text back. "Who is this?" she asked. The unknown person on the other end of the text thread wrote back immediately, telling Anna that she would never be made aware of that. Their identity would remain a secret. It became pretty clear that the girls were dealing with someone unpredictable. They couldn't think of anyone they knew who would want to frighten them in this way, so it had to be someone random, someone they didn't know, who had targeted them for whatever sinister reason. Maybe they had been watching the girls for much longer than any of them realized. Anna sent another message, telling the stranger to go away, and ending the message by calling them a creep. Maybe that wasn't such a good idea, it seemed, as the unknown texter replied by telling Anna she had made them angry. They said they weren't going to leave, and that the girls should open the door now if they knew what was good for them. As the three friends started to panic while reading Anna's texts, they all shrieked with fright together when someone started to aggressively yank and try the handle of the front door. The girls jumped to their feet and fell against the far wall, furthest from Betty's front door. Anna's cell phone began to ring now. It was the same unknown number that had been texting them, but none of them dared to answer. Whoever it was on the other end of that line continued to pull and tug at the door as the girls shook with fear and distress. Kelly grabbed Anna's ringing phone and hung up, but the stranger only called back and back and back. Texts came flooding through demanding that the girls pick up, or else call the cops. Kelly said in a quivery voice, and Betty did using her own cell phone. Next, the doorknob was abandoned by the stalker, and they reverted to the windows situated in the living area of the house, knocking loudly and still obsessively calling Anna's cell. The buzz of her phone was constant as it lay on the couch. It was unbelievable the lengths this unknown person was going to try and get to the girls. How had they even gotten Anna's cell number in the first place? The cops were on their way to the neighborhood after Betty had pleaded for them to hurry up. Kelly caught sight of more messages coming through on Anna's phone as the creep outside went back to the front door and went about yanking and twisting the knob again. The texts were becoming much more aggressive now. Cursing and threats were prominent. The final thing that caused the girls to crumble into turmoil was a loud, violent slam against the door, like the person's foot had just connected with it. But then, as Betty, Anna, and Kelly curled up in terror at the thought of the person kicking their way into the house, there was absolutely nothing. It stopped, and so did the phone calls. The girls then realized that they could hear voices, familiar ones. They were shouting and yelling for someone to go away and run if they knew what was good for them. The boys were outside. One began banging desperately on the door as the girls scurried to open it, knowing who it was. They all fell into the arms of the three guys now standing on Betty's doorstep, the boys whom Anna had texted to ask if they were playing a prank. It was said that they had come to check up on the girls after their odd questions via text, only to witness some stranger in a weird mask kicking Betty's door and trying to creep through the windows. The person had fled when the boys came into view and started to yell. They had been too fast for the guys to try and catch them. Police were on the scene not long after the boys' arrivals at Betty's house. The girls gave every bit of information they could, but ultimately, the three of them were just relieved it was over, and the aggressive creep hadn't gained access to the house. Anna had changed her phone number after that night, and unfortunately the culprit was yet to be caught and identified, which was scary when the girls would think too deeply about it. They never went anywhere alone from that night on, wherever it may be, and even if it was during the day. They didn't plan on doing so, until their unknown tormentor was at least identified.